Ted Turner has won praise for his exceptional charity, business savvy, leadership abilities, and entrepreneurial prowess throughout his career. Whether in philanthropy, sailing, environmental projects, cable television, sports team ownership, billboard advertising, or other endeavors, Turner's vision, tenacity, generosity, and forthrightness have constantly made the world sit up and take attention. Welcome to the channel, subscribe and get ready to dive deep into Ted Turner. Turner is the founder and the co-chair of NTI, a global security organization working to lessen threats from biological, chemical, and nuclear weapons, chairman of the Turner Foundation Incorporated, which supports efforts to grow and diversify the movement, conservation of land to protect and restore wildlife and biodiversity, catalyzing the transition to a future powered by clean energy, and protection and restoration of water resources, a chairman of the United Nations Foundation, which advocates for a more peaceful, prosperous world. Turner is also the chairman of Turner Enterprises Incorporated, a private firm that looks after his commercial interests, land holdings, and investments. This company is in charge of managing more than 50,000 bison and 2 million acres spread throughout 11 states and Argentina. In 1938, Ted Turner was born in Ohio. He started working for Turner Advertising, the business owned by his father, and in 1963 he was named president and CEO. Later, he changed the organization's name to Turner Broadcasting Corporation and launched CNN, the first 24-hour cable news network, in 1980. Turner Broadcasting was purchased by Time Warner in 1996 for $7.5 billion. From 1991 through 2001, Turner was wed to actress Jane Fonda. On November 19, 1938, in Cincinnati, Ohio, Robert Edward Turner III was given the name Ted Turner. His parents were Florence Rooney and Robert Edward Ed Turner Jr., and he is their oldest son. Turner Advertising, run by Turner's father, was his own business. Selling billboard advertisements was quite profitable for Ed's firm. Despite being a good provider, Ed struggled with bipolar disorder-related mood swings and physically abused Turner as a way of expressing his rage. Turner would learn he was bipolar years later as an adult. Ed enlisted in the Navy when World War II began. He traveled to the Gulf Coast in 1941 with his wife and Turner's sister, but Turner was left behind, feeling terribly abandoned. Turner stayed at a boarding school in Cincinnati while his family was gone. Ed moved the family to Savannah, Georgia after the war, where he enrolled his son in the Georgia Military Academy. Turner began attending McCallie, a prestigious boarding school in Chattanooga, Tennessee in 1950. Turner's favorite topic was military training, which was part of his curriculum. Turner wanted to enroll in the United States Naval Academy after finishing his coursework at McCallie, but his father recommended that he submit an application to Harvard. Turner enrolled in Brown University in 1956 since his grades weren't good enough to get him into Harvard. Unfortunately, Turner was expelled in 1959, the same year his parents separated, before he could receive his diploma because he had a lady in his dorm room. Turner got married and got divorced 3 times during the course of his long and prosperous career in broadcasting. His third union, to actress and campaigner Jane Fonda, was his most well-known one. The couple's quarrel over religion caused them to divorce 10 years after they wed in 1991. 5 kids altogether, 2 from his first marriage with Judy Gale Nye and 3 from his second marriage to Jane Shirley Smith, are the result of Turner's 2 marriages. Turner's father appointed him branch manager of Turner Advertising in Macon, Georgia in 1960. In his first year, Turner more than doubled his office's revenue, demonstrating his aptitude for business right away. When Turner's father acquired a rival in 1962, the pricey acquisition and subsequent debt put the business in a precarious financial situation. In March 1963, Ed shot himself in the head while battling bipolar disorder and fearing poverty. Turner immersed himself in his job as a means of coping with his sadness. At Turner Advertising, which was later renamed Turner Communications after the company acquired several radio stations in the late 1960s, he assumed the positions of president and chief executive officer. He launched Turner Network Television (TNT), Turner Classic Movies, and the Cartoon Network in 1992. Turner Broadcasting was a pioneer in the television and internet industries when it was sold to Time Warner in 1996 for $7.5 billion. Turner remained on to manage the business's cable networks, including home box office after the merger HBO. Time Warner and America Online combined in 2001. The next year, Ted's Montana Grill, a restaurant featuring bison, was Turner's attempt at a brand new business venture. By 1970, he had the distinction of being the owner of the biggest advertising company in the Southeast, of the United States. The rights to vintage movies and situation comedies were later acquired by Turner in order to break into the television market. The decision proved to be really intelligent. In order to increase its audience, Turner took a calculated gamble in 1976 by using satellite technology. He changed his company's name to Turner Broadcasting Corporation and undertook another rebranding. In the late 1970s, he developed the idea for an all-news network. When CNN started airing in 1980, it wasn't financially successful until 6 years later. With some of his earnings, Turner acquired Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer in 1985, MGM. In the 1980s, Turner also began to colorize films, but finally decided it was too expensive. He established the first 24 hours news network, right? Created a fortune previously valued at $10 billion. Man of the Year in Time magazine was he? Have you been awarded a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame? Made the New York Times' list of bestsellers? Perhaps it was when he won the sailboat race faster than everybody else, or the time his baseball team captured the World Series. Still impressed? Do you know that he managed to win the heart of a movie star and had the president as a fishing buddy? On November 19th, Turner turned 75, and he was indeed done, or being all of those things. All he has his Captain Outrageous side, besides from comparing rival Rupert Murdoch to Hitler and keeping an alligator as a pet, he also labeled Christianity a religion for losers. Too many times to count, he apologized for putting his foot in his mouth. Turner is more than just a daring athlete, infamous Mouth of the South, or billionaire number 260 on the Forbes list, $2.1 billion. After reaching high heights, he experienced a humbling fall to the ground, and his better self manifested as a large-scale philanthropist and humanitarian determined to set a positive example for other billionaires. What good is making billions, in Turner's opinion, if you can't donate the majority of them? So far, he has fulfilled his $1 billion promise to the UN by donating $965 million. He has spent more than 10 years fighting to save endangered animals, grasslands, and oceans. He's also promoted energy efficiency, denounced global warming, and battled to halt the use of nuclear weapons. Even the buffalo, a symbol of America, was saved from extinction thanks to him. Being the businessman, he persuaded people to eat bison at his 44 Ted's Montana grill locations, of course, and thereby preserved the species. Despite with all his triumphs and feats of daring do, dead Turner is merely human. Therefore, with 3/4 of a century behind him, he's also contemplating the concerns of common people as dusk approaches. When Turner's 75th birthday drew near, CNN visited him at his ranch in Montana, his childhood home in Ohio, and his penthouse in Georgia. Several of his acquaintances, colleagues, and relatives were questioned. At the end of the month, a large crowd will assemble for a banquet in Atlanta's affluent Buckhead area to support him. Turner gave this reporter a few chunks of his time, including a half-hour interview at his Atlanta office, and spoke at length with host Wolf Blitzer, who he has known for a very long time. In 23 minutes, he finished it. Turner claimed that despite his exhaustion and hearing impairment, he is unable to stop moving. He is moving more slowly now, but his jaw is square and his eyes are sharp. Any woman he hasn't met before may anticipate a full visual once over because he doesn't suffer fools. He is remarkably considerate for a wealthy billionaire, going to great lengths to make sure that the guests have all they require. Turner occasionally forgets a name in a conversation for a few seconds, but if he drifts off in the beginning, he remembers to come back at it. Although he's always been that way, he can be antsy and impatient, so it's important to take special care not to bore or irritate him. He did not refer to his CNN interrogator as a dummy or silly, as he has done with other people, which is a tiny consolation. Turner still enters a room with a brazen air of assurance and a loud laugh that sounds like a verbal slap. In a recent board meeting, he proclaimed, "Winning's terrific, losing sucks," upon hearing that his restaurants were profitable. Turner Enterprises Incorporated is his conglomerate of businesses and charity foundations. Thank you for watching and follow for more.